This will help us to be able to complete the work we have to do. Most immediately, FBI agents are performing a clearing of the buildings and surrounding areas of the refuge to ensure that everybody has left and that there's no one remaining on the refuge. This process will take a period of several hours. Following that, a tactical clearing of the refuge by a team of FBI Special Agent bomb technicians and by representatives from the Oregon State Police Explosives and Arson Unit, as well as Portland Police Bureau technicians and technicians from the Oregon Air National Guard will participate in this clearing. They will methodically work their way through the refuge, clearing the property of explosives and other related hazards. This process also will take 1 to 2 days. Once the refuge has been cleared of hazards, the FBI's evidence response teams will enter the refuge and will begin to document and collect evidence as it relates to potential crimes that were committed by the occupiers while they were on the refuge. In addition, FBI forensic examiners from the Northwest Regional Computer Forensics Lab will work on the refuge to recover computer and electronic devices. It will likely take several weeks for them to be able to process all the evidence, and then several months for them to analyze that evidence. At the same time, the FBI is deploying experts with its art crime team to work on the refuge. These agents are specially trained in cultural property investigations. They will be responsible for working with members of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, as well as the Burns Paiute tribe, to identify and document damage to the tribe's artifacts and sacred burial grounds. They will start with an archaeological field assessment to determine any potential violations of the Native American Graves and Repatriation Protection Act and the Archaeological Resources Protection Act. This work as well will take several weeks. As the FBI works through each of these investigative processes, we will consult with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to determine the best time and the soonest time possible that we can return the refuge back to that agency. Let me share with you just a few closing thoughts. Over the course of the last month, the people of Harney County have lived through an experience that is both emotionally exhausting and physically trying. We have seen the occupiers and their outside supporters attempt to drive deep divisions within and between the citizens of this community. We have seen some residents leave their homes fearing for their safety. We have seen the confusion, concern, and trouble that the occupiers' actions have caused members of this community. This series of events has been beyond difficult for the families of Harney County. But I have to tell you, in the time I've been here, I've also witnessed the love that exists in this community between the residents here, the concern they feel for their community, the concern they feel for this land that surrounds the town of Burns and Hines, and also for the way of life that makes this community so special. This passion for everything good about Harney County is what will help this community heal. This is your community, and the FBI and all the other law enforcement agencies that have participated in this event to date are honored that we're able to be of service to you, to your community, to help bring back some normalcy to this area. I have to reiterate, we still have a lot of work to do, and we continue to ask for your patience as we complete the tasks that I've described to you today. We will do everything we can to return the refuge back to the citizens of this county and to the people who work there and to all the people who travel here to visit that refuge as soon as possible. In particular, we know that the people of the Burns Paiute tribe have specific concerns about the potential desecration of their ancestral lands and artifacts dating back thousands of years. As we complete the necessary safety checks and process the crime scene, we will work with tribal representatives to ensure that our work remains sensitive to their historical and cultural concerns. In closing, I want to make sure I take this opportunity to thank Harney County Sheriff Dave Ward. I've never met a man who cares as much for this community in which he lives and for the citizens that live here. He has tried from the beginning of this event to bring a peaceful resolution, and he has worked hard with every member of this community, with all the law enforcement agencies that have been here working, and with the various other pressures that come when these kind of events. And he has remained true to his word. He wanted to make sure that the citizens here in this county were heard, that their concerns were had an outlet, and that at the end of the day, we brought this to a peaceful and successful conclusion. I'm grateful that we're able to now work as hard as we can to return this community back to normalcy and return it back to the way it was before these events took place. Thank you very much. We'll hear now from Harney County Judge Steve Grasty and then the Sheriff, after which I'll take a few questions.
So good afternoon, and it is a good afternoon. I have to echo what was just said about our sheriff. I'm amazed with his calm, cool demeanor throughout this entire event. He really did a lot to lead the peaceful outcome that we ended up with this morning. I'm also proud to represent the Harney County Court as your elected officials, the elected officials of this county, and with this statement. The occupation at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge is over. Law enforcement will now be able to begin the process of clearing buildings, as you just heard, and processing the crime scene. But let's be clear. Armed occupation of federal property is a crime. It is not a peaceful protest. And the illegal taking of federal property is a matter rightly dealt with by the FBI. There are underlying issues that still need to be addressed. Management of federal lands is one that we've been working on for years and will continue to work on. Harney County's made some positive steps over the years, moving forward with collaborative processes, but we got a long ways to go. In the meantime, the occupation and continued presence of militia groups in Harney County continues to raise division in the county and with every community within this county. Calls for thousands of people to descend on Burns are very troubling. Continued militia presence in Harney County will only serve to delay any further or meaningful work on the issues that truly need to be addressed. We are grateful that the occupation ended peacefully, and we look forward to the day when our community is ours once again.
Good afternoon. I'm Sheriff Dave Ward. Apologize. I've been feeling a little emotional today. I'm proud of this community. I'm proud of my friends and neighbors. I'm proud of the way that you stood up to this stuff. I love this country. And a house divided against itself cannot stand. I've seen division in our community, division in families, division amongst friends and neighbors, and divisions in our church congregations. Apologize. There's good that can come out of this. You know, friends and neighbors can get off social media and sit down over a cup of coffee and talk out their differences. We can work through these things. There's been a lot of hurt. There's been a lot of things said. But I don't think there's anything that's been done that can't be worked through. And if we can't work through the differences that we've found in our little community right here, how can we expect the rest of the nation to work through the division that we face? Our government's run by people. Human beings are an imperfect being. I make mistakes in my job every day. I sit down at the end of the day and I try to think about what I could have done different. We need to communicate with our leaders, and our leaders need to communicate with us. I've seen people angry, I've seen people angry that couldn't explain what they were even angry about. And it's torn our community apart. I see it tearing our country apart. But right now we have the opportunity as people in this great nation, the best nation on the face of the earth, to come out and work through our differences and start getting things back together. I was amazed today when I was listening to a live feed. I'm sure a lot of people heard it. Young man, very troubled young man, said, if everybody says hallelujah, I'll come out. I heard hallelujahs from a SWAT team. I heard hallelujahs in unison out of an entire building of people that were watching that with their fingers crossed, hoping to God that they could get people out alive. I'm so proud of all the people who came here, every agency that worked together to work towards the most peaceful resolution that they could find in this situation. And unfortunately, there was life lost through the course of this, but I still believe that they found the most peaceful resolution they could. And I'm proud of every single person that came out. I'll say it again. I love this community, and I'm proud of every person in it. And I want to sit down and work out differences between myself and my neighbors, and I would encourage everybody in this community and in this country to do the same. We can't continue to go on tearing each other apart, hating each other because of differences of opinions. We can't go on like that. There's a reason that people risk their lives to come to our country every day from around the world, and that's because it's a fine place to live. So if I could encourage my friends and neighbors to get off of Facebook and talk to each other in person, if I can encourage them, if they had a complaint with a civil servant, to sit down and write a well thought out letter void of profanity and insults, I think that we could get a lot farther. And if you're so persuaded, turn off the computer and get on your knees and pray for your leadership, because there's no way we're going to fix this country if we're all mad at each other and fighting over everything. So God bless you all, and thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. All right, we can take a few questions now.
Do you think you could have talked them out peacefully on your own without these third-party negotiators who seem to make all the difference in the end?
The negotiations with these individuals have been going on for a period of many, many days into weeks. And we've employed both trained crisis negotiators and third-party intermediaries. And it was a combination of all who were able to talk them off off the refuge.
How did it all come together today? What were the circumstances that made it happen today?
Well, as I described last night, we felt it was time to, both for the safety of those who were on the refuge and the safety of the officers who were involved in the event, to up the pressure that we were applying to those who were at the refuge. And in conjunction with that, we had a concerted effort to work through crisis negotiators, and again, intermediaries such as the Reverend Franklin Graham. Though he was here today, he spent well over a week speaking to those on the refuge and helping them work through their issues so they could come to a point where they are ready to leave of their own volition.
Who was the one that eventually got Fry out of there?
It was a team effort, but I can't say enough about specifically the Reverend Franklin Graham, and also there was significant assistance provided by Michelle Fiore.
Can you describe Mr. Fry's surrender? Just describe sort of what happened.
Well, as many of you in this room know, he was live streaming, and he was in a very emotional state. I've got to believe that at a certain point, he was able to look around, notice he was there by himself, and that it would probably behoove him to remove himself from that situation.
Have you ever seen anything like this with a standoff that plays out on YouTube and streaming live and so much access to what's going on?
That's, believe it or not, that's something we've discussed quite frequently over there in the junior high school amongst us here in law enforcement. Law enforcement is continually changing, as is the social media environment, technology, And yes, we've had instances like this in the past, and we'll have likely many more like this in the future. And it's something that we'll continue to work through and revise our techniques so that we can use them to our advantage as well to help bring these things.
You said you'd have bomb squads go through every building. Do you have any indication that there are actually explosives set, or is that a precaution, a safety issue?
You know, there are several things that have happened over the last 41 days that have led us to believe that this is a prudent thing for us to do.
Can you give me any details on that?
No.
After Fry appeared to be suicidal, was there a psych evaluation done after he was detained?
You know, there'll be several steps that'll happen over the next several weeks, all of which, you know, will happen outside of the FBI's purview.
Were all four taken back to Portland, and when do you expect them to be in front of a federal judge?
They were all transported back to Portland, where they will receive an initial appearance, likely tomorrow, before a judge.
There's been a lot of questions asked about body cam video from the traffic stop where the boyfriend of him was killed. Can you comment on that?
I can tell you that the video that we had was provided, and that's about all I can tell you. There was no actual video of the individuals on the persons of the tactical operators.
Is that a normal thing?
You know what? I'll have to leave that question to the Oregon State Police.
Can you touch on the circumstances and timing of Clive and Bundy's arrest?
I can only tell you that last night, agents from the FBI Portland Division arrested Clive and Bundy at the Portland International Airport and arrested him without incident. The charges stemmed from charges that came out of the District of Nevada. He did have an initial appearance today at 1:30, and he will make his way back to the District of Nevada.
What was it about the ATV incident that sparked all of this?
You know, there's a lot of things that happened during the last several hours yesterday, and one of them was that an individual rode his ATV outside of their perimeter. They've set up several roadblocks with government trucks and front-end loaders, etc. And while he was out there, he observed some agents and made it back to his compound, and that's when we...
Did he say what he was doing, why he was going out?
No, we haven't had a chance to interview him about anything like that.
You said the intermediaries.
Yes.
Go ahead. That happened more than once? The individual leaving the perimeter the day before as well as yesterday?
No, I can tell you that the distance and location where he traveled was the first time.
You said the intermediaries were helpful, but I wonder, you know, there were tens of thousands of people listening to the live stream, and on that live stream, Michelle Fiore was really sort of pumping these guys up, really giving them sort of the hero's treatment about what they were doing. They're calling them patriots repeatedly and whatnot. I don't know how much of that were tactics, was a tactical operation on her part, and how much of it she really believed all of that. But any concern with all of this lionizing of the occupiers done by the legislators who were there, both Michelle Fiore and two legislators from Idaho and elsewhere who were calling these people patriots? Any concern that all of that praise for them would inspire copycats around the country?
You know,
same thing?
without speaking specifically about anything Fiore or anybody else might have said, I can say this. Illegal acts such as occupying federal property in a violent manner, armed, to deprive employees or citizens access to those facilities will not be tolerated in the United States. And I hope that message has gotten out clearly, that that kind of activity has consequences, and those consequences will be visited upon those people who carry out those activities.
Can you talk about the charges filed against Clive and Bundy? When were they drawn up, and why it took so long to...
You know, I would refer all questions about Clive and Bundy to the District of Nevada.
Can you describe the current condition of the refuge?
There's work to be done on the refuge. There's a significant amount of cleanup that'll have to happen after we process the crime scene, and I think there'll actually be an opportunity at some point where that'll become evident to people.
David Fry had said repeatedly that self-service was cut off and internet. So how was he able to keep posting these videos, and were you aware of them, and were you allowing it?
We were very aware of it, and most people in the United States were very aware of it. And honestly, I won't get into what we did and didn't allow. There obviously has to be some way to communicate with individuals who are in that type of situation.
So how was he able to upload those videos?
You know, we're not going to get into all that at this point. All right, thank you very much.